Welcome to the 6th annual Halloween special that we have done every single year for the past 6 years. This is my beautiful wife, Sam,
Hi guys.
who was really the inception of this idea 6 years ago.
Yep.
And we've continued to do it every year. And we're getting old.
I think you're the one who's getting old.
Well, you did put cream on my joints earlier, and I liked it. And so that's probably a good sign of my age. I think we're old and we're dying, and we're going to talk about Trick or Treat today.
Oh, that's a young person's thing.
Trick or Treat was directed by Michael Dougherty, or Michael Dougherty. I'm not sure how to say his name.
I think it's Dougherty.
It might be Dougherty, but he wrote and directed the film, and it's sort of an anthology movie. 5 different stories. You have a couple that starts out the film, a woman in a robot costume, and you have an older man in a house, played by Brian Cox. You have a kind of demented father and his son. Dylan Baker plays the father. And then you have a group of women who are wandering around the city in search of men who they refer to as meat. We don't really know why they refer to them as fresh meat at first. Then we have some kids who are taking jack-o'-lanterns to an old quarry, and we're not exactly sure what they're doing. And all 5 of these stories intersect over the course of Halloween night.
Yep. That sounds about right.
That's the
Good
plot of the
job.
movie. Thank you. I should get an award. This has been one of my favorite Halloween movies for a long time, and for a while it was really underappreciated. Not a lot of people really talked about this movie. How did you first see Trick or Treat?
You showed it to me.
That's true. And what were your initial thoughts on Trick or Treat?
I really loved it.
Yeah.
It was a really good movie. I actually got into it. I enjoyed the story. Usually I spend most of my time with horror films laughing my way through them.
Now, are you laughing at the characters because they're stupid, or are you laughing because it's just like you don't really get it? Like you're
No,
just not your
I
thing.
laugh
It's not your
because
thing.
it's stupid.
Gotcha.
Usually it's because whatever the characters are doing is stupid,
Right.
or whatever is being directed is stupid, or they're peppering tons of jump scares through the movie for absolutely no reason other than to give people false jump scares through
Exactly.
the movie.
And this is why I love you, because you understand me. I'm so critical of horror films because I know what they can do. And to me, like a horror film, the depths of emotion you can get out of an audience from a horror movie is far greater really than any other genre. Because like fear is such a penetrating emotion.
Yeah.
And when you get a good horror movie that understands that, but also knows how to have fun with it, like this one.
Yeah, this one definitely has fun with how to scare people and make them feel like they're on edge a little bit. It takes itself seriously, which I actually appreciate. I don't feel like a lot of horror films feel like they actually try to make a quality product. They just know that if they can get a couple of jump scares that they've done their job and they're going to make money regardless, because you don't need a lot of money to make a horror film.
Yeah, I love how clever the direction is because watching the movie multiple times, you can see how the plots intersect. Some characters bump into other people, and you realize, oh, that's the other story we've already seen in progress. And there's so many ways the plot intersects like that. And we've seen this done in movies before, and oftentimes it's used as this way of saying, like, look how clever we are. But it never really feels like it overstates its welcome. It never feels like it's the director saying, hey, look at me, I made a really clever movie. I never feel like I'm being talked down to whenever I watch this film. It's just such a gleefully entertaining movie. And the director clearly has an affinity for Halloween. He's actually from Ohio, like us, and he loves Halloween as a result, because here in Ohio and in the Midwest, we get like the full Halloween experience. You know, like the leaves change colors, the air gets colder, there's trick-or-treats and haunts everywhere.
Yeah, Ohio has tons and tons of haunted houses, like more than a lot of the states around us combined. Like I actually pulled up a map of how many were in Ohio, and we had like 8 times the amount of haunted houses in our state than I think every state surrounding us. We had like some 90 haunted houses that were registered, and I know there's tons more that aren't actually registered, because we'll have like little pop-up ones locally and in the cities or at like farms. Like almost every big farm around here does some type of haunted event.
Thank God, because I love it, and it's clear that that inspired him quite a bit to make this movie. I was doing a little bit of research, and recently the Shout Factory Blu-ray came out, a brand new one, and there's a great new documentary on it where he talks about trying to convince people to let him make this movie.
Mm-hmm.
He made a short film, an animated short film called Season's Greetings, and it was the first introduction of the Sam character. He recognized that Christmas had a mascot, Santa Claus. Easter Bunny, Halloween didn't have a mascot.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to create this character, this little guy, Sam, as sort of like a pseudo mascot for Halloween.
I love that it's my name.
Yeah, that's great. I didn't tell her that the first time I showed it to her, so that was kind of cool.
It was nice to find out.
So he was able to use that short film that he directed, along with some concept art that he helped get painted, and sort of convince studios to let this movie be made. But it actually had a really tough time getting released. For whatever reason, after doing really well at festivals and winning awards, Warner Brothers just pulled it from the schedule, like right before it was supposed to come out. And they never gave an explanation. Some people think it could have been because Saw 4 was about to come out and they didn't want to have that competition. But that's kind of dumb. I mean, like, usually when a movie gets pulled from schedule or pushed back, it's because it isn't really that good, or because the studio doesn't have confidence in it. But this is like a great movie.
Yeah, it's a really good film. So I don't really understand the reasoning behind pulling it unless they really were fearful of the Saw film taking up the box office money.
And Saw 4 is not good. So
no,
like
Saw
that,
4 is not good.
that was a
at
stupid decision. But it languished for a while in obscurity where it was just not released. And finally they just released it to home media, straight to home media.
Yeah.
So it didn't really get like a full theatrical release.
Which is why I had never really heard about it, because it was like, oh, that's a thing. And now I'm like, man, I wish I really had gotten to see this in theaters. And it's gotten so popular now, Universal does a haunted house for it.
Yes, I'm wearing the shirt that we actually got. We just went to Universal Studios for our 4th anniversary. Yep. And the Trick or Treat haunted house was amazing.
The Trick or Treat house was amazing. I would loved going to the Universal haunted house event because it was so much more adult than
it was. There's some bloody shit in there.
There was some really bloody stuff, and they were right. There's a disclaimer on the thing on the website saying not appropriate for young children and to be mindful of young children. I'm like, yeah, they're right.
I was very happy.
I know, it was a balm to my soul. Apparently Akron just opened up their first R-rated haunted house.
Really?
Yeah.
We should go.
We should. Apparently they're allowed to touch you and like yell and seeing things at you. And
oh, I don't know if I like the touchy touch.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to be touched by the people in the corners.
See, I don't mind stuff like that. I'm weird. That kind of stuff actually is what gets me more than I don't get scared in haunted houses. Like I said, I'm that weird person who sits and laughs at things. I was the terrible child who would go through the haunted houses, and whenever something would happen, I would be like smiling and giggling and like, yay, this is so fun, this is exciting.
So the haunted house actors were like, oh, it's her again.
Yeah,
you can't scare her.
They couldn't scare me. The only thing that ever worked was like if they'd come up right behind me.
I was always drawn to frightening things when I was a kid too. All my favorite stuff was always scary stuff. Are You Afraid of the Dark? Goosebumps, The X-Files, all that stuff. I always wanted to see monster movies. It's one of the things I like about Trick or Treat is that it does feel like it's born of that love for the frightening and the horrific.
You can tell whoever wrote it actually enjoyed what they were writing and not just forced to write something because it would make them a little bit of money. There's an actual joy to Halloween that they have, and I appreciate it because you actually get to feel like you're watching a Halloween film, kind of like the Halloween franchise makes you feel like you're watching a nice dark Halloween film. You get that same feeling from this because it brings out that spooky, creepy, haunted feeling that you get. And not a lot of films do that. A lot of them are just slasher films for the sake of killing people and seeing boobs.
I agree with you. There's actual passion behind this project. You can tell that he was really trying to get it made. He wrote a script he liked, and he had to convince people. It wasn't just like, as you said, a paycheck thing for him. He really wanted to get this movie out there, and you can tell in every frame that there's just more love given to it than your average horror movie.
Every shot was thought about. Like, it's not just a lot of throwaway scenes for the sake of, oh, we need a couple of minutes here and a couple of minutes here to bridge the story. There's actual attention to detail paid in every scene. Every shot has thought, and I love that. He actually spent his time crafting this, and it shows. When somebody puts their heart and soul into it, you can really tell. It's why you get really good films like Steven Spielberg with his films. You can always tell when he's putting his passion behind it. They're better films.
So I'm going to give you guys a spoiler warning. If you haven't seen Trick or Treat, we're going to start talking about some plot details. Obviously, we both recommend it. One of the things I love about the movie, and the first time I showed it to Sam, I could not wait for her to see it, was the werewolf stuff. Because you follow these girls, and they so cleverly set them up as the cliched young girls.
Mm-hmm.
Only after boys. All they want to do is have sex. They're wearing sexy costumes.
Drinking alcohol.
They're drunk. They're going to some kind of rave or party or something, and all they talk about is how they need fresh meat and how it's their first time. And the little girl dresses up like Little Red Riding Hood. And they make a joke when they're in the dressing room, like, I'll huff and I'll puff. And there are all these little pieces like that sprinkled throughout. And then you find out that they're werewolves and they're going to be mating and killing men and stuff. And it's just such a great reveal. They're literally ripping their skin off. It's one of my favorite werewolf scenes in any movies.
Yeah, they went back to old school werewolf lore where werewolves shed their human skin off. Like Goosebumps did that in
Werewolf Skin.
Werewolf Skin also played on that old horror trope of the peeling of the skin. I appreciated that because they killed one of the other characters who also was doing naughty things on Halloween as kind of like a sick, demented, haha, you get your just reward thing. It was great. So it kind of connects you back to the other stories when the werewolves transform, is that now the guy who killed his students is now getting
his just due.
Yes.
Yes, and that crazy guy was played by Dylan Baker, who some of you might remember as Dr. Connors from the first two Spider-Man films, or should I say Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3. Never got to be the Lizard in Sam Raimi's movies. This kind of leads me to something I noticed last night when I rewatched it. I cannot think of a movie that has more children dying.
I actually agree. I can't.
There's so many children die in this movie.
A lot. There's a lot of kids who die in this film. How many kids did he have in that hole?
So he kills the one kid. There was another kid in there who had like a clown costume on. And there is another kid early in the movie that had a clown costume. And I'm actually not sure if it's the same. I can't confirm that. Then he kills the one kid by poisoning his candy. But it's clear that he's done it before. Because the son later is like, we'll cover scary face this time. So the son isn't like surprised by it. This is clearly something that's happened before. Also, there's a bus filled with children chained up to seats who all drown in a flashback sequence and then later come back as zombies. So I've never seen a movie with more
of kids
right.
who get killed. And the other stunt that happens for the night, there's a lot of kids who get killed in this film.
Yeah.
And usually movies don't touch on that.
No.
They don't usually go after kids because it's seen as, I guess, crossing the line.
One of my favorite characters in the movie is Rhonda.
She's a sweetie.
Yeah. She has all these beautiful pumpkins she's carved. I love the actress. She does such a good job. I wish I remembered her name. And they're trying to play a trick on her, and she gets back at them, basically. And that's one of the other things about the film that I love. It is crowd-pleasing. Like, it sets up these little pieces. Like, you have the bus driver who agreed to kill all those kids, who later ends up being the old guy in the house. And the zombie kids show up at his door, you know, and then Rhonda gets her just due, and the zombie kids attack the kids. And it's just a really crowd-pleasing movie in that aspect, where it's kind of about righting the wrongs on Halloween, because that's what the Sam character does. You know, he walks around and looks for people who are breaking the Halloween rules, and he kills them.
The only death that kind of almost doesn't make sense is the robot character, the woman at the beginning, except for that she blew out the jack-o'-lantern.
And she's like, I hate Halloween.
Yeah.
And he's like, you actually hear a little boy voice underneath the scarf, or the knapsack, which I've always loved.
I love that knapsack.
I'll tell you the deaths that don't really make sense to me. And it's really my only real issue with the film. The backstory with the school bus is told through a narration of the little girl. And she's basically saying that all of the parents in the neighborhood agreed that they don't want their kids anymore because their kids aren't like the other kids. I'm like, come on. There were like 10 kids on that bus. You're really going to say all of those parents got together and were like, I hate my children. I hate my kids too. Hey, let's pay the bus driver to murder him. Okay, cool. Like, it just, to me, that was a little far-fetched. It works in the sense that it's an urban legend.
Yeah, we don't know if that was the actual story. It was never confirmed if that was the...
Obviously,
the bus went off into the quarry because the kids come back out and they go after the bus driver. So we're going to assume it's probably the correct story.
Yeah.
But there might have been more to it. Maybe he just decided to do it without being the parents paying for it.
See, I would have liked that better. It works as an urban legend that the town might say, but then it's sort of proven true, and so I was kind of like, that's really my only iffy portion of the film. I think that it's such a gorgeously shot, extremely well lit. The colors in the movie, the oranges and the yellows, the design of Sam, so unique. By the way, he's right there, and he's been there for a long time. Every time I film here,
I love him.
Me too.
I want to get the big mask. I really, like I said, I really enjoy this film. I would highly recommend it to anybody to watch it and sit down and enjoy a nice Halloween film. It's one of those ones where I do try to wait till October to watch it, though. It's not one of those, I'm going to watch it all the rest of the year. I do try to watch it at Halloween time because it feels better to watch it at Halloween time. And every time I watch it, all I want to do is turn our front yard into like a haunted horror festival. And I'm like, I need to sit down and do some serious budgeting so one year I can actually pull it off. So I'll probably have to hire a whole bunch of people to help me to pull off turning our front yard into a haunted house.
That would be pretty awesome.
I would love to do that.
I will help you with that. I also love to watch it every Halloween. This and John Carpenter's first Halloween film have become staples for my Halloween every single year. It's a must watch. I really, truly recommend this movie if you're fans of the holiday or if you're just fans of a good, fun time. I'm going to give Trick or Treat an A.
I would also agree. A is probably also what I would give it. Only because I wouldn't give it an A+, only because one or two of the story elements don't quite actually work, and once you watch it a few times you notice it a little bit more, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, in regards to sitting down and actually crafting this on a blank screen, it's really impressive.
Yeah.
All the little things, because I mean, I've always thought about trying to write like an anthology like this, and it's crazy because you kind of have to like make a timeline first of what actually happened, and then you can take all those pieces and shuffle them around in different ways, and they intersect really well. And a lot of times with anthologies, there's always that moment where you're like, that didn't quite line up, the timeline. Watching it again last night, there isn't a moment that doesn't feel like it doesn't flow.
Yeah, no, it all connects very well. Like I said, it's just one or two little story elements that don't quite jive.
Thank you very much to my beautiful wife Sam for joining me, and look forward to more reviews. We're going to do a few more for you guys this October.
We've got a bunch planned.
It's going to be fun. So
we're going to have some other people guest starring. I might not be in all of the reviews, but we will have some fun people to replace me.
For sure.
Yep.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much as always for watching. Look forward to more reviews very soon. And if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmannized.